Power is often misunderstood. Many people believe that power comes from speaking loudly, reacting quickly, or proving others wrong in every situation. From a young age, we are conditioned to defend ourselves immediately. If someone disrespects you, respond. If someone challenges you, fight back. This way of thinking creates a habit of constant reaction. But real life teaches a different lesson. True power is quiet. It is not rushed. It does not depend on proving something to others. It comes from control over your own mind and emotions. The less you react, the more you begin to see clearly. You understand situations better. You respond with purpose instead of impulse. Every reaction costs energy. Every unnecessary argument drains your focus. When you react to everything, you give control of your emotions to the outside world. Anyone can influence your mood, your decisions, and your peace. This is not power. This is dependence. When you stop reacting instantly, something changes within you. You begin to observe instead of jumping into every situation. You start to choose your responses carefully. This creates a sense of calm that others can feel. People may not always understand it, but they respect it. In reality, life is full of situations that test your patience. Someone may insult you. Someone may ignore you. Someone may try to provoke you. These moments are not just challenges. They are opportunities. Each moment gives you a choice. You can react and lose control, or you can stay calm and gain strength. The journey of becoming less reactive is not about suppressing emotions. It is about understanding them. It is about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. It is about choosing actions that serve you instead of actions that only satisfy temporary emotions. This idea does not mean you become passive or weak. It means you become intentional. You do not allow others to decide your behavior. You decide it yourself. The world is full of noise. Opinions are everywhere. People constantly express anger, frustration, and judgment. In this environment, the person who remains calm stands out. That calmness becomes a form of power that cannot be easily shaken. This is the foundation of the idea that the less you react, the more powerful you become. It is not about ignoring everything. It is about mastering yourself in every situation. The chapters ahead will explore this idea in depth. They will show how reactions shape your life, how control builds strength, and how silence can become your greatest tool. Through real-life situations and clear understanding, you will begin to see that power is not something you show. It is something you develop within. Chapter 1, Understanding Reaction and Power. Reaction is one of the most natural parts of being human. From childhood, you learn to respond instantly to what happens around you. If someone takes your toy, you react. If someone praises you, you react. If something feels unfair, you react. Over time, this habit becomes automatic. You begin to believe that reacting is necessary for survival and respect. But there is a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is immediate and emotional. It comes without thinking. Response is thoughtful and controlled. It comes after awareness. This difference defines the level of power a person holds within themselves. When you react without thinking, you give control of your mind to the situation. The outside world decides how you feel and how you behave. This means your peace depends on others. Anyone can disturb you. Anyone can influence your mood. This is not strength. This is a hidden weakness that many people never notice. Power begins when you take back that control. It starts when you understand you do not have to react to everything. Just because something happens does not mean you must respond immediately. You have the ability to pause. In that pause, you create space. In that space, you gain clarity. Most people fear that if they do not react, they will appear weak. This fear comes from ego. The ego wants to prove itself constantly. It wants to win every argument. It wants to be right in every situation. But this constant need to react only shows insecurity. It shows that you are dependent on external validation. A powerful person does not feel the need to respond to every challenge. They understand that not every situation deserves their energy. They choose where to invest their attention. This choice is what separates control from chaos. Think about a simple situation in daily life. Someone says something negative about you in a group. A reactive person immediately defends themselves. Their voice rises. Their emotions take over. The situation becomes tense. Even if they are right, their reaction weakens their position. Now imagine another person in the same situation. They hear the negative comment. They stay calm. They do not rush to defend themselves. They allow the moment to pass and later address it in a composed way, or sometimes they choose not to respond at all. This calmness creates a different impact. People notice their control. They appear confident and grounded. This is how power works in real life. It is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is steady and quiet. It comes from knowing that your worth is not defined by every opinion around you. Reaction is often driven by emotions like anger, fear, and frustration. These emotions are not wrong. They are part of human nature. But when they control your actions, they lead you away from clarity. You begin to act in ways that do not serve you. You say things you do not mean. You make decisions you later regret. Understanding your emotions is the first step toward control. When you feel anger rising, you can notice it instead of acting on it. When you feel hurt, you can observe it instead of reacting instantly. This awareness changes everything. It allows you to separate yourself from the emotion. Power grows in this separation. It grows when you realize that you are not your immediate reaction. You are the one who chooses what to do next. Another important part of understanding reaction is recognizing triggers. Every person has certain situations that provoke them easily. It could be disrespect, criticism, or feeling ignored. These triggers are like buttons that others can press to control your reaction. If you are unaware of your triggers, you remain vulnerable. People can influence you without effort. But when you identify these triggers, you reduce their power. You become prepared. The next time a trigger appears, you do not react blindly. You stay aware and choose your response. For example, imagine someone who becomes angry whenever they are criticized. In one situation, they react immediately and argue. The discussion turns into conflict. Nothing is solved. In another situation, the same person recognizes their trigger. They feel the anger, but they pause. They listen fully before speaking. Their response becomes calm and focused. This changes the outcome completely. The difference between these two moments is not the situation. It is the level of awareness and control. Power is also connected to patience. When you do not react instantly, you give yourself time. Time allows you to see the bigger picture. You understand the intention behind actions. You avoid misunderstandings. Many conflicts in life happen because people react too quickly without understanding the full situation. A patient mind sees more clearly. It avoids unnecessary problems. It focuses on what truly matters. Another reality of life is that not every reaction leads to resolution. Many times reacting only adds fuel to the situation. It increases tension and creates distance between people. Silence or delayed response often reduces intensity. It allows emotions to settle. This does not mean you ignore everything. It means you choose wisely. Some situations require a response, but even then the timing and tone matter. A controlled response is always more effective than an emotional reaction. As you begin to understand reaction and power, you start to see patterns in people. You notice who reacts to everything and who remains calm. You notice how different behaviors create different outcomes. This awareness helps you shape your own behavior. The journey toward becoming less reactive is not about changing overnight. It is about small steps. It is about catching yourself in moments of impulse and choosing differently. Each moment of control strengthens you. Over time, this practice becomes natural. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself constantly. You no longer get pulled into every conflict. You become stable in a world that is often unstable. This stability is power. It is not given by others. It is built within. Chapter 2. The illusion of immediate response in daily life. Many people believe that reacting quickly is a sign of strength. They think that if they do not answer immediately, they will lose respect. This belief feels natural because society often rewards loud voices and fast reactions. But this is an illusion that hides a deeper truth that an immediate response is usually driven by emotion, not by clarity. When something triggers you, your mind moves fast. You do not stop to understand the full situation. You focus only on defending yourself or proving a point. In that moment you may feel powerful, but in reality, you are being controlled by your emotions. This illusion becomes stronger because reacting gives temporary satisfaction. When you answer back quickly, you feel like you have protected your ego. You feel like you have won the moment. But this feeling does not last. Later, when your mind becomes calm, you often see the situation differently. You realize that your reaction was not necessary or not effective. The problem with immediate reaction is that it removes thinking from the process. It creates decisions without awareness. These decisions often lead to conflict, misunderstanding, and regret. A calm response, on the other hand, takes time. It may feel uncomfortable at first because you are not following your usual pattern. You are holding back your reaction. But in that pause, your mind begins to work differently. You start to see details. You understand tone, intention, and context. This understanding allows you to respond in a way that is meaningful. People who master this ability do not rush to speak. They allow silence to exist for a moment. This silence is not empty. It is full of awareness. It creates space for better decisions. Consider a situation where two friends are having a disagreement. One friend says something harsh in anger. The other friend reacts immediately and responds with equal intensity. The situation quickly turns into a bigger conflict. Both feel hurt, and the relationship becomes strained. Now, imagine the same situation handled differently. One friend says something harsh. The other friend feels the emotion, but does not react instantly. They stay quiet for a moment. They process what was said. Later, they respond in a calm and clear way, or they choose to discuss it when emotions have settled. This approach reduces tension and protects the relationship. The difference between these two outcomes is not the words that were spoken. It is the reaction that followed. Immediate reaction also creates a pattern of dependence. When you react to everything, you train your mind to seek constant engagement. You feel the need to respond to every message, every comment, and every situation. This drains your mental energy. It keeps your mind busy with things that do not truly matter. When you break this pattern, you regain control of your attention. You decide what deserves your response and what does not. This decision saves your energy for more important aspects of life. Another important aspect of this illusion is the fear of silence. Many people feel uncomfortable when they do not respond immediately. They think silence will be misunderstood. They think others will assume weakness. But in reality, silence often creates curiosity and respect. When you do not react instantly, people begin to observe you differently. They see that you are not easily influenced. They recognize that your actions are intentional. This changes how they interact with you. Immediate reaction also reduces your ability to listen. When you are focused on responding quickly, you do not fully hear what the other person is saying. You are already preparing your answer. This leads to misunderstandings and incomplete communication. A delayed response improves listening. It allows you to absorb information completely. It shows respect to the other person. It creates better communication and stronger connections. The illusion of immediate response is deeply connected to ego. The ego wants to protect itself at all times. It does not like being challenged or questioned. It pushes you to react quickly to defend your image. But real strength does not come from constant defense. It comes from inner stability. When you are secure within yourself, you do not feel the need to respond to every challenge. You choose your moments wisely. In professional life, this difference becomes very clear. A person who reacts quickly to criticism may damage their reputation. They may appear defensive and emotional. Another person who listens carefully and responds thoughtfully gains respect. They are seen as mature and reliable. This does not mean you avoid speaking up. It means you choose how and when to speak. Timing and tone become your tools. You use them with awareness. Breaking the habit of immediate reaction requires practice. At first, it may feel difficult. Your mind will push you to respond quickly, as it always has. But each time you pause, you weaken this habit. You create a new pattern of behavior. You can start with small steps. When someone says something that triggers, you take a moment before answering. Focus on your breath. Allow your mind to settle. Even a short pause can change the quality of your response. Over time, this pause becomes natural. You no longer feel the urge to react instantly. You begin to enjoy the clarity that comes with patience. The illusion fades as you experience the benefits of control. You see how calm responses create better outcomes. You notice how fewer reactions lead to less stress. You realize that power is not in speed. It is in awareness. Life will always present situations that challenge you. People will say things that provoke you. Circumstances will test your patience. You cannot control these external events, but you can control how you respond to them. When you let go of the need to react, immediately you take a step toward true power. You move from impulse to intention. You shift from chaos to control. This shift is not loud or visible at first. It happens within you. But over time, its impact becomes clear in every area of your life. Chapter 3: Emotional Control as Strength. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They give color to life. They help you feel joy, connection, excitement, and love. At the same time, they also bring anger, fear, jealousy, and frustration. These emotions are not enemies. They are signals. They show you what matters to you and what affects you deeply. The problem does not come from emotions themselves. The problem begins when emotions take control of your actions. When you act under the influence of strong emotion, you often lose clarity. You stop thinking about consequences. You focus only on the feeling of the moment. This is where mistakes happen. Emotional control does not mean you stop feeling. It means you do not allow your feelings to decide your behavior. You feel everything, but you choose your response carefully. This ability is rare and powerful. When anger rises, it feels intense. Your body becomes tense. Your thoughts become fast and sharp. In that moment, reacting feels natural. It feels like the only option. But that is an illusion created by the emotion itself. If you pause instead of reacting, you begin to notice the emotion rather than becoming it. You see the anger as something separate from your actions. This small shift changes everything. It gives you the ability to choose. For example, imagine a situation at work where a colleague speaks to you in a disrespectful way. Your immediate emotion is anger. One reaction is to respond with the same tone. This creates conflict and damages the working environment. It may even affect your reputation. Another approach is to feel the anger but not act on it instantly. You remain calm in that moment. Later, you address the situation in a composed manner or you choose to ignore it if it is not important. This approach protects your image and keeps the situation under control. The difference between these two outcomes lies in emotional control. In one case, emotion leads your action. In the other case, awareness leads your action. Emotional control also helps you avoid unnecessary stress. When you react to every emotion, your mind stays in a constant state of tension. You move from anger to frustration to anxiety without rest. This drains your energy and affects your mental health. When you learn to observe your emotions instead of reacting to them, you create inner calm. You still feel, but you are not overwhelmed. This calmness allows you to think clearly and make better decisions. Another important aspect of emotional control is understanding that emotions are temporary. No matter how strong an emotion feels, it will pass. Anger fades. Sadness softens. Fear reduces. If you react instantly, you act at the peak of the emotion. If you wait, the intensity decreases and your response becomes more balanced. This understanding gives you patience. It reminds you that you do not have to act immediately. You can allow the emotion to settle before making any decision. Emotional control also improves your relationships. When you react strongly, you may hurt others without intention. Words spoken in anger can damage trust. Actions taken in frustration can create distance. When you control your emotions, you communicate more effectively. You express your thoughts clearly without harming others. This builds respect and understanding. Consider a situation in a close relationship where one person says something hurtful during a disagreement. If the other person reacts immediately, the argument becomes bigger. Both sides say things they later regret. The relationship suffers. If one person chooses control, the situation changes. They listen without reacting. They allow the moment to pass. Later, they discuss the issue calmly. This approach reduces conflict and strengthens the bond. Emotional control is also connected to self-awareness. You need to understand what triggers your emotions. Every person has different triggers. It could be criticism, rejection, or feeling ignored. When you know your triggers, you can prepare yourself. For example, if you know that criticism makes you defensive, you can remind yourself to stay calm when it happens. You can focus on listening instead of reacting. This preparation reduces the intensity of your response. Building emotional control takes practice. It is not something that happens instantly. You will have moments where you react and later realize it was not the best choice. This is part of the process. The key is to learn from these moments. Each time you become aware of your reaction, you take a step forward. You begin to recognize patterns. You see how certain situations affect you. This awareness helps you improve. Breathing can be a simple tool in this process. When you feel a strong emotion, take a slow breath. This creates a pause between feeling and action. In that pause, you gain control. Over time, this practice becomes natural. You no longer feel the need to react to every emotion. You become steady. Your mind becomes clear, even in difficult situations. People notice this quality. They trust individuals who remain calm under pressure. They respect those who do not lose control easily. This respect is not demanded. It is earned through consistent behavior. Emotional control is not about suppressing your voice. There are times when you need to speak and take action. The difference is that your actions come from clarity, not from impulse. You choose the right moment and the right way to express yourself. This balance creates true strength. You are not silent out of fear. You are calm out of choice. You are not passive. You are intentional. And life challenges will always come. Situations will test your patience. People will say things that provoke you. You cannot avoid these moments, but you can decide how you respond. When you master your emotions, you master yourself. This is one of the highest forms of power. It is not visible like physical strength, but its impact is far greater. A person who controls their emotions cannot be easily shaken. They remain stable in chaos. They think clearly in pressure. They act wisely in difficult situations. This is the strength that comes from within. It does not depend on others. It grows with awareness and practice. The less you allow your emotions to control your reactions, the more powerful you become. Chapter 4: Silence as a Strategy. Silence is often misunderstood in everyday life. Many people see silence as weakness or fear. They believe that if you do not speak up immediately, you are losing your position. This belief pushes people to react quickly in order to prove themselves. But in reality, silence can be one of the strongest and most effective strategies a person can use. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the control of power. When you choose to remain silent, you are not avoiding the situation. You are observing it. You are giving yourself time to understand what is really happening. This creates clarity that most people miss because they are too busy reacting. When someone expects a reaction from you and you do not give it, they feel uncertain. People are used to predictable responses. They expect anger after insult. They expect defense after criticism. When you break this pattern by staying silent, you shift the dynamic of the situation. You take control without saying a word. Silence also protects your energy. Every reaction consumes mental and emotional strength. If you respond to every comment, every opinion, and every situation, you become drained. Your focus scatters. You lose the ability to concentrate on what truly matters. When you choose silence in situations that do not deserve your attention, you save your energy. You keep your mind clear. This allows you to invest your effort in meaningful actions instead of unnecessary conflicts. Consider a situation where someone tries to provoke you with negative comments. Their goal is to get a reaction. If you respond with anger, you give them what they want. The situation escalates, and you lose control of your emotions. Now imagine you remain silent. You hear the comment, but you do not react. You stay calm and continue with your work. The person who tried to provoke you feels ignored. Their attempt loses its effect. Your silence becomes your strength. Silence also gives you time to think. When you do not rush to speak, you allow your mind to process information. You understand the situation more deeply. This leads to better decisions. In many cases, the first reaction is not the best one. It is influenced by emotion and incomplete understanding. When you stay silent for a moment, you move beyond that first impulse. You respond with awareness instead of instinct. Another important aspect of silence is that it improves communication. This may seem surprising because silence appears to be the opposite of communication. But in reality, silence allows you to listen better. When you are not focused on responding, you can fully hear what the other person is saying. You notice their tone, their intention, and their message. This understanding helps you respond more effectively when you choose to speak. For example, in a discussion, one person keeps interrupting and reacting to every statement. The conversation becomes chaotic and unproductive. Another person listens quietly and speaks only after understanding the full context. Their words carry more weight because they are thoughtful and precise. Silence also creates respect. People may not always understand it, but they feel it. When you do not react impulsively, you appear confident and composed. You show that you are not easily influenced by others. This kind of presence is powerful. It makes people think before they speak to you. It changes how they interact with you. You become someone who cannot be easily controlled or manipulated. However, silence does not mean you never speak. There are moments when speaking is necessary. There are situations where you need to express your thoughts clearly. The key is to choose the right moment. Strategic silence means you decide when to stay quiet and when to speak. You do not speak out of impulse. You speak with intention. This makes your words more impactful. Timing plays a crucial role in this process. Words spoken at the wrong time can create conflict. The same words spoken at the right time can resolve issues. Silence helps you find that right moment. In personal relationships, silence can prevent unnecessary arguments. When emotions are high, reacting immediately often leads to hurtful words. Choosing silence in that moment allows emotions to settle. Later, the situation can be discussed calmly. In professional settings, silence can enhance your image. People who speak less, but with clarity, are often seen as more thoughtful and reliable. They do not waste words. They add value when they speak. Silence also helps you observe people. When you are not constantly reacting, you begin to notice patterns. You see how others behave under pressure. You understand their intentions more clearly. This awareness gives you an advantage in social and professional environments. Another benefit of silence is inner peace. When you reduce unnecessary reactions, your mind becomes quieter. You are not constantly pulled into external drama. You feel more stable and focused. This inner calm is a form of strength that cannot be easily disturbed. It allows you to handle challenges with clarity. It keeps you grounded in situations that would otherwise create stress. Learning to use silence as a strategy requires practice. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. You may feel the urge to respond immediately. This is normal because it is a habit built over time. Start by observing your reactions in small situations. When you feel the urge to speak, pause for a moment. Ask yourself if your response is necessary. If it is not, choose silence. With time, this practice becomes easier. You begin to enjoy the control it gives you. You see the positive impact it has on your life. Silence is not about hiding your voice. It is about strengthening it. When you speak less, your words become more valuable. People listen more carefully because they know you do not speak without reason. In a world full of noise, silence stands out. It creates presence. It creates authority. It creates power. The less you react, the more you understand the value of silence. And the more you use silence wisely, the stronger you become. Chapter 5. The psychology behind reactions. Every reaction has a root. It does not appear randomly. It comes from patterns inside the mind that have been built over time. These patterns are shaped by past experiences, beliefs, fears, and expectations. To become less reactive, you need to understand why reactions happen in the first place. The human mind is designed to protect. When it senses threat, it prepares you to defend yourself. This threat is not always physical. It can be emotional or social. A simple comment can feel like an attack on your identity. When this happens, your mind moves into a defensive state. In this state, thinking becomes limited. You focus only on protecting yourself. You stop seeing the full picture. This is why reactions are often exaggerated. The situation may be small, but your response becomes intense because your mind believes it is under threat. This process happens very quickly. It feels automatic, but it is not unchangeable. Awareness can interrupt this pattern. One important psychological factor behind reactions is conditioning. From childhood, you learn how to respond to situations by observing others. If you grow up in an environment where people react strongly, you are likely to develop the same habit. It becomes normal for you. Another factor is personal identity. People attach themselves to their beliefs, opinions, and image. When something challenges these attachments, it feels like a personal attack. This creates a strong emotional response. For example, imagine a person who takes pride in being always right. When someone disagrees with them, they feel threatened. Their reaction becomes defensive or aggressive. The reaction is not about the disagreement itself. It is about protecting their identity. Now, imagine the same situation with a different mindset. A person who does not attach their identity to being right listens to the disagreement calmly. They consider the other perspective. Their response is thoughtful instead of emotional. The difference lies in how they see themselves. Another psychological trigger is the need for validation. Many people depend on external approval to feel confident. When they receive criticism or rejection, it affects them deeply. They react strongly because their sense of worth feels challenged. When you build inner confidence, this need reduces. You no longer depend on every opinion around you. This makes you less reactive. You can hear criticism without feeling attacked. Fear also plays a major role in reactions. Fear of losing respect, fear of being ignored, fear of being misunderstood. These fears push you to respond quickly in order to protect your position. But reacting out of fear often creates the very outcome you want to avoid. It can damage your image and create more misunderstanding. When you act from calm awareness instead of fear, you handle situations more effectively. Another important concept is emotional memory. Your mind stores past experiences and connects them to present situations. If you have been hurt in the past, your mind becomes sensitive to similar situations. Even a small trigger can bring back strong emotions. For example, if someone has faced repeated criticism in the past, they may react strongly to even mild feedback. Their reaction is influenced by past experiences, not just the present moment. Understanding this helps you separate past from present. You realize that not every situation is the same. You give yourself the chance to respond differently. The speed of modern life also increases reactivity. Constant communication, constant opinions, constant interaction. Your mind does not get enough time to process. This creates a habit of instant response. When you slow down your thinking, you reduce this pressure. You allow your mind to process information fully. This leads to more balanced reactions. Self-awareness is the key to changing these patterns. When you become aware of your thoughts and emotions, you create a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap, you have the power to choose. At first, this gap may be small. You may still react quickly, but even a slight awareness can change the intensity of your reaction. With practice, this gap becomes larger. You gain more control. Mindfulness is one way to develop this awareness. It involves paying attention to your thoughts and feelings without judgment. You observe what is happening inside you instead of being controlled by it. Over time, this practice helps you recognize your triggers. You see how your mind works. You understand why you react in certain ways. This understanding gives you the ability to change. Another important aspect is acceptance. Accepting that you will feel emotions, but you do not have to act on them. This reduces internal conflict. You do not fight your emotions. You manage them. It is also important to understand that not every thought requires action. Your mind produces many thoughts throughout the day. Some are useful. Some are not. When you react to every thought, you lose focus. Choosing which thoughts to act on is a form of mental discipline. It strengthens your control over your behavior. As you understand the psychology behind reactions, you begin to see patterns not only in yourself, but also in others. You realize that many reactions are not personal. They come from the other person's own fears, and conditioning. This realization reduces your emotional involvement. You do not take everything personally. You respond with more clarity and less emotion. For example, if someone speaks harshly, it may reflect their stress or insecurity rather than your actions. When you understand this, you do not feel the need to react strongly. You maintain your calm. This shift in perspective is powerful. It changes how you experience interactions. You move from reacting to understanding. Building this level of awareness takes time. It requires patience and consistent effort, but the results are significant. You become less influenced by external situations. You gain stability in your thoughts and actions. Your reactions become intentional rather than automatic. You choose how to respond based on understanding rather than impulse. This is where true power begins to take shape. It is not about controlling others. It is about understanding yourself. The more you understand the psychology behind your reactions, the more control you gain over them. And the more control you gain, the stronger you become. Chapter 6. Power in social situations. Social situations reveal a lot about a person. The way you behave around others shows your level of control, awareness, and confidence. In these environments, reactions become more visible. People notice how quickly you respond, how strongly you react, and how well you handle pressure. Most social environments are filled with subtle challenges. People express opinions, disagree, make jokes, test boundaries, and sometimes provoke without clear intention. In such situations, a reactive person becomes easy to read and easy to influence. Their emotions guide their behavior, and others can predict their responses. A person who controls their reactions creates a different presence. They are not easily predictable. They do not respond to every stimulus. This makes them appear stable and confident. Stability in social situations is often seen as strength. When you react quickly to everything, you give others a sense of control over you. They learn what triggers you. They understand how to get a reaction from you. This can lead to manipulation, even if it is not intentional. People naturally push boundaries when they see that someone is easily affected. When you remain calm and composed, you set a different tone. You show that your behavior is not controlled by others. This creates respect. People become more careful in how they approach you because they cannot easily influence your reactions. Listening plays a major role in social power. Many people focus on speaking more than listening. They interrupt, they react, they try to prove their point. This creates noise, but not clarity. A person who listens fully before responding gains an advantage. They understand the situation better. They notice details that others miss. Their response becomes more accurate and meaningful. For example, in a group discussion, one person reacts to every statement. They interrupt and speak without fully understanding the topic. Another person listens carefully and speaks only after observing the conversation. The second person often gains more attention because their words carry weight. Social power is not about dominating conversations. It is about influencing them with clarity and control. Another important aspect is handling disagreement. Disagreement is a natural part of interaction. Not everyone will share your views. A reactive person treats disagreement as a threat. They respond emotionally and try to defend their position aggressively. A controlled person sees disagreement as a normal exchange of ideas. They remain calm. They listen to the other perspective. They respond without hostility. This approach creates a more productive environment. In professional settings, this difference becomes even more important. Meetings, discussions, and negotiations require clear thinking. A person who reacts emotionally may lose credibility. They may appear unprofessional or unstable. A person who maintains composure, even under pressure, builds trust. Others feel confident in their ability to handle responsibility. This trust opens opportunities and strengthens their position. Social situations also involve unspoken communication. Body language, tone, and presence all play a role. When you are reactive, your body reflects it. Your movements become tense, your voice changes, your expressions show discomfort. When you are calm, your body language becomes steady. Your tone remains balanced. This nonverbal communication reinforces your control. People feel your presence even without many words. Confidence is closely linked to non-reaction. True confidence does not need constant validation. It does not depend on winning every conversation. It comes from inner stability. When you are confident, you do not feel the need to respond to every comment. You choose what matters. This selective response shows strength. Another reality of social environments is that not Every situation deserves your involvement. Many discussions are unproductive. Many opinions are not worth engaging with. A reactive person gets pulled into everything. This creates unnecessary stress. A controlled person chooses where to engage. They conserve their energy. They focus on meaningful interactions. This improves their overall experience. For example, in a casual gathering, someone may make a provocative statement to attract attention. A reactive person takes the bait and creates an argument. The situation becomes tense. A non-reactive person ignores the comment or responds lightly without emotional involvement. The situation remains relaxed. This ability to stay unaffected changes the dynamic. You are no longer part of unnecessary conflict. Social power also comes from consistency. People observe patterns over time. If you remain calm in different situations, they begin to trust your stability. If you react unpredictably, they become unsure about you. Consistency builds a strong reputation. It shows that your behavior is not dependent on mood or circumstance. It reflects discipline and self-control. Another important element is respect. Respect is not forced. It is earned through behavior. When you control your reactions, you show respect for yourself and others. You do not lower your standards by reacting impulsively. People may not always agree with you, but they recognize your composure. This recognition often turns into respect. It is also important to understand that being less reactive does not mean being silent all the time. There are moments when you need to speak clearly and assert yourself. The difference is that your words come from awareness, not from impulse. When you speak with intention, your message becomes stronger. You do not waste words. You communicate with purpose. This makes others listen more carefully. Handling criticism in social situations is another test of control. Criticism can trigger defensive reactions. A reactive person may argue or justify themselves immediately. This often makes the situation worse. A controlled person listens to criticism without immediate reaction. They consider what is useful and ignore what is not. They respond calmly if needed. This approach shows maturity. For example, if someone gives harsh feedback, a reactive response may lead to conflict. A calm response allows you to understand the feedback and address it effectively. This improves both your performance and your relationships. Social environments are constantly changing. Different people, different opinions, different situations. You cannot control all these variables, but you can control how you respond to them. This control becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady regardless of external changes. It allows you to navigate social situations with confidence. Over time, this way of being becomes natural. You no longer feel the urge to react to everything. You become selective, thoughtful, and composed. People notice this difference. They feel comfortable around you. They trust your judgment. They value your presence. This is the power of controlled behavior in social situations. It is not loud or aggressive. It is subtle but strong. The less you react, the more you influence the environment around you. And the more influence you have, the more powerful you become. Chapter 7: Building the Habit of Non-Reaction. Becoming less reactive is not something that happens in one moment. It is a process that develops through repetition, awareness, and effort. Just like any habit, your reactions have been built over years of automatic behavior. Changing this pattern requires patience and consistency. The first step in building the habit of non-reaction is awareness. You need to notice when you are about to react. Most reactions happen so quickly that you do not even realize them. They feel natural because your mind is used to responding in a certain way. When you begin to observe your behavior, you start to see these moments more clearly. You notice the situations that trigger you. You recognize the emotions that rise within you. This awareness is the foundation of change. At the beginning, you may still react in the same way. This is normal. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to become conscious of your reactions. Each time you notice your behavior, you create an opportunity to improve. The next step is creating a pause. This pause is the space between what happens and how you respond. Even a few seconds of pause can change the outcome of a situation. It allows your mind to shift from emotion to awareness. You can use simple methods to create this pause. Taking a slow breath, focusing on your surroundings, or mentally counting for a few seconds can help you step back from the moment. These small actions give you time to think. For example, imagine someone says something that irritates you. Your natural reaction is to respond immediately. Instead, you take a breath and remain silent for a moment. This short pause reduces the intensity of your emotion. It gives you a chance to choose your response rather than reacting automatically. As you practice this pause repeatedly, it becomes easier. Your mind starts to recognize it as a new pattern. Over time, the gap between stimulus and response becomes larger. This gives you greater control. Another important part of building this habit is reflection. After a situation, take a moment to think about how you responded. Ask yourself if your reaction helped or made things worse. Consider how you could handle a similar situation differently in the future. This reflection strengthens your awareness. It helps you learn from experience. It turns everyday situations into opportunities for growth. Consistency is essential in this process. You cannot expect change without repeated effort. Each small moment of control adds to your progress. Even if the situation seems minor, it still contributes to your habit. For example, choosing not to react to a small annoyance is just as important as controlling yourself in a major conflict. Both situations train your mind. Both build your discipline. It is also important to manage your environment. Surrounding yourself with constant negativity or conflict makes it harder to stay calm. While you cannot control everything, you can make choices that reduce unnecessary triggers. Spending time in calm environments, engaging in activities that relax your mind, and limiting exposure to unnecessary stress can support your progress. A balanced mind reacts less because it is not constantly under pressure. Another factor in building non-reaction is understanding your priorities. When you are clear about what truly matters, you become less affected by small issues. You do not feel the need to respond to everything because you know it does not align with your goals. This clarity helps you stay focused. It prevents distractions from pulling you into unnecessary reactions. For example, if your goal is personal growth and stability, you will be less interested in winning every argument. You will choose peace over temporary satisfaction. This mindset reduces reactivity. Developing patience is also a key part of this habit. Patience allows you to tolerate discomfort without reacting. It helps you stay steady even when situations are challenging. At first, this may feel difficult because your mind is used to immediate action. But with practice, patience becomes natural. You begin to feel comfortable with waiting and observing. Another useful approach is to reframe situations. Instead of seeing every challenge as a threat, you can see it as a test of your control. This shift in perspective changes how you experience the moment. For example, if someone tries to provoke you instead of feeling attacked, you can see it as an opportunity to practice your calmness. This mindset turns a negative situation into a positive exercise. Over time, this way of thinking strengthens your resilience. You become less affected by external behavior because you are focused on your own growth. It is also important to accept that you will not always succeed. There will be moments when you react impulsively. This is part of the learning process. What matters is how you respond afterward. Instead of feeling discouraged, you can use these moments as lessons. You can understand what triggered you and how you can handle it better next time. This approach keeps you moving forward. Building the habit of non-reaction also improves your overall mental clarity. When you reduce unnecessary reactions, your mind becomes quieter. You are not constantly processing conflicts or regrets. This creates space for better thinking. You become more focused, more present, and more aware. This clarity influences all areas of your life, from decision-making to relationships. As this habit strengthens, people begin to notice the change. They see that you are calm in situations where others react. They observe your stability. This creates a sense of trust and respect. However, the true benefit is internal. You feel more in control of yourself. You are not easily disturbed by external events. You experience a deeper sense of peace. This peace is not dependent on circumstances. It comes from within. It is built through consistent effort and awareness. The habit of non-reaction is not about becoming distant or emotionless. It is about becoming intentional. You still feel everything, but you choose how to act. Each moment of control strengthens your character. Each pause increases your awareness. Each decision to stay calm builds your power. Over time, this practice becomes part of who you are. You no longer struggle to control your reactions. It becomes natural to observe, think, and respond with clarity. This transformation is gradual but powerful. It changes how you experience life. It changes how others perceive you. The less you react, the more you realize that control is a skill that can be developed. And the more you develop it, the more powerful you become. Conclusion power is not something that comes from outside. It is not given by status, wealth, or loud expression. It is built quietly within a person through control, awareness, and discipline. The journey of becoming less reactive is not about changing the world around you. It is about changing how you respond to it. Throughout life, you will face situations that test your patience. People will challenge you directly and indirectly. Circumstances will not always be fair or comfortable. These moments are unavoidable. What defines you is not what happens, but how you handle it. When you react to everything, you allow the outside world to control your inner state. Your emotions rise and fall based on what others say and do. This creates instability. It keeps you in a constant cycle of tension and release. It weakens your ability to think clearly and act wisely. When you choose not to react instantly, you begin to break this cycle. You create space between stimulus and response. In that space, you gain clarity. You begin to understand situations more deeply. You respond with intention instead of impulse. This shift changes everything. You become more focused because your energy is no longer wasted on unnecessary reactions. You become more respected because your behavior reflects control and confidence. You become more peaceful because your mind is not constantly disturbed by external noise. The idea of being less reactive does not mean you ignore reality. It does not mean you stay silent in every situation. It means you choose your moments carefully. You speak when it adds value. You stay silent when it protects your peace. You act when it is necessary. You let go when it is not. This level of awareness requires practice. It is not achieved in a single step. There will be moments when you react and later realize you could have handled it differently. These moments are part of growth. Each experience teaches you something about yourself. Over time, you begin to notice a change. Situations that once triggered you no longer have the same effect. Words that once disturbed you lose their power. You feel more stable, even in challenging environments. This stability is the foundation of real strength. People often look for power in external achievements. They try to control others or prove themselves constantly. But the highest form of power is self-control. It is the ability to remain steady when everything around you is uncertain. A person who controls their reactions cannot be easily manipulated. They do not lose themselves in temporary emotions. They see clearly and act wisely. This makes them strong in a way that is not dependent on circumstances. In a world where most people react quickly and emotionally, the one who remains calm stands apart. Their presence is different. Their words carry weight because they are not spoken without thought. Their silence speaks because it is intentional. This is not about becoming distant or detached. It is about becoming aware. It is about understanding that every reaction is a choice. And with that understanding comes responsibility. You begin to take responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. You stop blaming situations or people for how you feel. You realize that your response is always within your control. This realization is empowering. It gives you freedom. Freedom from unnecessary conflict. Freedom from emotional exhaustion. Freedom from the need to prove yourself in every moment. As you continue on this path, you build a stronger connection with yourself. You trust your ability to handle situations. You feel confident without needing constant validation. This confidence is quiet but powerful. The journey of becoming less reactive is not about perfection. It is about progress. It is about choosing awareness over impulse again and again until it becomes your natural way of being. Every moment of patience, every choice of calmness, every decision to pause adds to your strength. These small actions shape your character. They define how you move through life. In the end, power is not about how loudly you speak or how quickly you react. It is about how well you control yourself when it matters most. The less you react, the more you understand. The more you understand, the more you control. The more you control, the more powerful you become. The end.